The Seattle Seahawks are another NFC West division rival of the Los Angeles Rams. And this is the third and final video of this three-part series I've been doing as a Ram fan, reacting to essentially schedule reactions from opposing NFC West fans. But I've had a lot of fun with this. If you haven't checked out the 49ers episode or the Cardinals episode, that was a lot of fun. And here we are. I know some of you have been commenting that you want this one, you want to see it. So I'm excited to react to Seahawks fans, Brendan and Brandon of the Hawks Nest. And I've collaborated with Brandon before, really enjoyed talking football with him. And just so everyone knows that I do ask these content creators, I say, hey, are you cool if I do this? And all of them have said yes. So feel free to comment in the comments below, and we're going to have some fun with that. So here we are. We're going to react to it. So context, this is the Seahawks schedule release live stream that they're talking. And Brendan and Brandon are talking about the different matchups, about the Seahawks. And they get to week 9 where the Seahawks and the Rams face each other for the first time. Let's listen.
All right, so we've got coming on up, I've got a loss on the Bills week 9. We are going to be back at home, remaining at home here, and we are going to take on the Los Angeles Rams at a 1 o'clock game.
Okay.
All right. This is a key litmus test, I think.
Ooh.
For Mike McDonald. Can he do what Pete couldn't quite figure out how to do?
Ooh.
That's right. That's right.
So the Rams, they had a decent enough offseason overall. Their draft had some things that I liked, had some things that I didn't like so much. First was a good pick. The Braden Fiske thing, I think, was they gave up way too much to get him. They didn't really have any dead money. They kind of took all the...
Okay, I'm going to just stop there, Brendan. Just, I've heard a lot of this take of the Rams gave up too much to get Braden Fiske. I am one of those people that's like, you can't truly tell until you've actually seen the player play, right? Draft grades mean little to nothing other than someone's opinion. The Rams wanted him. They valued the teammate that Fiske was with Verse. And you just said you liked the Verse pick, but you felt that the Rams gave up too much in that trade to get Braden Fiske. Well, if the Rams wanted to make sure they got their guy to pair those two together, that's what they did. And the Rams had 11 draft picks, not that many holes on the team. So I like the trade. I really do. The more I think about it, the more I like it. And so I politely disagree with Brendan on that one.
Dead money on last year, and now it's just done with. I was looking at their books a couple months ago, and I was surprised. Like, they've got no real problems. I think most of their dead money comes from Brian Allen, the center that they cut right before free agency or right after free agency started. So looking at
they got clipped hard by the Donald thing, though.
Oh yeah, the Donald thing that did. Okay, you're right. That did come up. That was after.
Okay, I'm gonna just pause there for a sec. So, Brendan's correct. The Rams and Les Snead in the front office never really get a lot of credit from this, but making the tough decision they made in 2023 to absorb a massive dead cap hit with moving on from veteran players set them up for better success in the future. And being able to deal with that dead cap last year allowed them to be prepared to deal with a dead cap hit from Aaron Donald. And I'm not, maybe they don't know this, but Donald did rework his deal a little bit so that in order, I think they saved about $9 million in cap space this year. So they will feel an impact of Aaron Donald in the future. But I'll also say at the same time, there's still a chance that Aaron Donald comes out of retirement. And for a talented player like Aaron Donald, it's worth keeping, the dead money on the books. I'll say it.
After I looked at it, I remember looking at it and they had like 500,000 dead. And then, yeah, Donald did change everything.
He gets him for 2 years, by the way. Again, to the people that like to say Brendan with the, The salary cap's not a real thing. It doesn't exist. Like, go look at the Donald contract for the next 2 years and what they got to pay and what they're eating on the books on that deal to make it happen.
Okay, so they're talking about dead cap here. I'm going to fast forward a bit. I of the mindset the Rams have had dead cap hits much scarier than Aaron Donald's dead cap hit, and if there's a chance he comes out of retirement, worth keeping on the books. But the Rams have had tons of dead money over the years. You want to talk about dead money? Let's talk about Jared Goff. Let's talk about Todd Gurley. Let's talk about Brandon Cooks. Any of the Bobby Wagner or Jalen Ramsey dead money that was absorbed, the Leonard Floyd dead money. The Rams, I'm not saying I want it to become the thing that the Rams are known for. However, they have proven time and time again that they're able to navigate the cap. The cap does exist. I'm not refuting that. However, they have had the ability to replace talent, and they've had success too. And for there's some teams that maybe have a better cap situation, but they struggle to re-sign players. They struggle to attract talent to their team. Rams aren't that team.
Down where it's like, well, technically we come back, but no team does that for those kind of players like that. And I would register to guess, Brendan, that in the Aaron Donald situation, the Rams were very aware of his possible retirement, because remember, he was kind of flirting with this a couple of even seasons ago, where they probably, he wanted to tell them, look.
So Brandon's really hung up on the dead money of Aaron Donald's contract, but that's not a secret. Like, the Rams knew that was going to happen, and to be honest, I think they've done a good job of adapting to it. Right. And, thankfully they were able to have the foresight last year to recognize, like, okay, do we want to absorb this dead money this year, or do we want to push it off one more year, which they could have done. But I'm thankful in the end that they did.
So my question would be, who's going to be the Rams quarterback by week 9? Because Stafford was able to get through most of the season last year, but I do feel like he's on borrowed time.
Once again, everyone talking about Stafford's health and injury. Okay, let's listen in.
Had a spine injury a couple years ago, almost retired then. Decided to come back. Was really good last year, don't get me wrong. But he's old, and he's already struggling to get it through a full season. So I am kind of wondering if Stafford's the quarterback by then. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right about, to me, that's being the big part of where my assessment would be on this game.
You know what? I'll be so bold to say I think Matthew Stafford has a better chance of starting this game than Geno Smith, because I think the Seahawks got a quarterback controversy on their hand with Sam Howell, and if Geno Smith gets benched by this game, who knows? But anyway, that's my hot take. Seahawks fans, feel free to let me have it in the comments. Again, this narrative that Stafford is always injured, things like that. He was injured. He's had a lot of injuries over his career. He is a more mature quarterback, let's say. But at the same time, it's a physical sport that you can be concerned about any quarterback's health or injury or well-being. And the thing I like about Stafford, he knows how to recover well from it. Everything we've seen from Stafford throwing this offseason so far, he looks healthy. Sure, there's the contract negotiation, which is his own thing, but I have faith that the Rams front office will get that sorted out. I just find it interesting that that's such a common take by other NFL fans.
Game, and where it would go would be where's Stafford at from a health standpoint on either of the two matchups when we face the Rams in this particular season. And like you say, he's a little bit of a roll of the dice every year as to whether or not he's going to have injuries that sink him or not. Even last year, he had a thumb injury and a couple other things going on. He fought through it. He always can seemingly grit through stuff, but there's also times where he can get just basically taken down by it. I think that if he is playing in this game, that they probably find a way to win it. Okay. I think that they have done a good job of building this team back up. Like you said, though, I did kind of poo-poo a little bit of the fact that they're not eating any dead money. Even though you're eating the Aaron Donald dead money, you're not eating the $57 million of dead money they were eating last year. And they got to the playoffs last year with $57 million of dead money on the books, which to me speaks to the job McVay did as a coach, and also speaks to how good Stafford played last year. And one of those games he played great in, Brendan, was the Ravens game on the road, where I believe the Ravens were just able to nip them at the end, but Stafford was having really a similar game to what he did with us week 1, where he was just cutting them up. And so I will put this myself as a loss because I'm not going to quite anticipate in this one that Stafford will be out by this point. I will actually flip it in my next outlook on the next Rams game, Brendan, and have it look a little bit of a different way on this one. But on this opening one, even though it is at home, I think that Stafford and company will be strong enough to give it to us at that point where I will put down an L on this.
Okay, Brandon.
I think I'm going to go that way as well. I think I'm feeling that way too.
Agree. Rams win.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I think there will be opportunities there. I don't think this Rams team is going to be great overall. I think they did lose. I mean, they lost probably their best player, right? Like, Donald was still their best player, even over Kupp or Stafford.
Okay. Yeah, because he's a force multiplier. When he's on that defensive line, he makes every.
To be fair, the Seahawks are definitely a team that Aaron Donald has pulverized for the majority of his career. So they're giving respect where respect's due.
Everybody else better because of the amount of attention that he draws. I mean, no player like that to me, even as good as Stafford's been for them, is in the same realm.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm going to say a loss here as well, I think.
Okay, go Rams.
All right.
Okay, so here's the last game of the year, Week 18. The Rams are at home, and the Seahawks are coming to Los Angeles. I have not yet watched their take on this, so I'm really curious what they say here. So, Week 18, let's hear Brendan and Brandon, Seahawks fans' thoughts.
Season, which will be up against the Los Angeles Rams.
Mm-hmm. This could be for a playoff spot. I wonder. There's definitely a scenario here where this is for a playoff spot. You also have to wonder, will Stafford be healthy by then? Will the full 17-game season have maybe knocked him out at this point? Because I talked about how he's kind of hanging on the edge here. He's missed he missed a little bit of time last year. Missed a lot of time the previous year. He's old. A lot of miles on him too. A lot of miles.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say,
okay. How come people don't have this conversation about like other quarterbacks around Stafford's age? Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, they're question marks too. Like literally any quarterback has that. But I get it. I get it. I just think it's a cold take. But let's listen in.
Say we're gonna split with the Rams. I had us losing the first game, so I'm gonna actually have us winning this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I come out of the bottom line for me on the two real tough matchups in our division, Brendan, being the Niners, the Rams. I just came out of it saying, look, we'll get a win out of that. We'll probably lose and drop in 3 there, but we're coming out with a win. This one, the final week of the season, I don't know if I think, like you mentioned at the top, and it's always hard to predict injury and all of this, but to me, to think that Stafford at 36 years old, I think in a year where you're not going to have a defense that you're going to be able to lean on, they're going to try to lean on the running game as much as they can, but it's going to come down a lot of times, I think, to him throwing the ball across the field for them to win football games.
See, I politely disagree, Brandon. I think Stafford's going to be lights out. I think he's going to have one of the best seasons of his career. But the moves that the Rams made on the offensive line to be, as we say, beefier and bigger, I think shows a commitment to the run game, a belief in Kyron Williams, a belief in Blake Corum, right? I think this is going to be a well-balanced offense. Matthew Stafford is still going to sling it with the best of them. I think he's going to be healthy. If he doesn't play this game, I think it's because they're resting him for the playoffs.
And I think he takes his share of little extra hits in there, and that body is, one bad hit away. I can see him making it through the first part of the schedule, but by getting to the end of the point, you're not necessarily getting Stafford at that point. You're getting Carson Wentz, and if it's Carson Wentz on the road, then I got us winning that all day. So
okay, so we're not making a big Brandon. I'm sure he's just mistaken here. I'm sure he means Jimmy G, because Carson Wentz signed with the Chiefs. Shout out Carson Wentz. Appreciate that one game you played for us. But no, so he's thinking Jimmy G. I'm gonna, just I think that was just a brain flub there. That totally makes sense. But I disagree. And even if Stafford does have to miss a game or two, I think Jimmy G is a capable backup to come in. He's better than some starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I like the Rams quarterback situation a lot more than I like the Seahawks. I'll say that. With Geno Smith and with Sam Howell and potential QB controversy brewing.
So I would say that's what this game will come to as far as a prediction for me, Brendan. And I will predict that I think that that's probably what's going to happen with this. It just feels like a year with me with Donald retiring where that's if Donald was out there at the Rams, I would put him into a place of saying this is still truly a contender. But with them now, it seems they're going to be really strong still as long.
So they really don't think the Rams are going to be that great. Okay, well, if you know me, I'm happily a biased Ram fan. I like what the Rams are doing, and I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFL.
Stafford's up there and rolling, but it's all really on his shoulders to make sure he's out there getting it done, because they need him making those amazing throws, bending the bullet, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So that's the season.
Okay, I'm just going to keep listening, and I'm curious what they think the Seahawks' final record is going to be. Let's listen in.
That's the season. That's it right there. So what was your final tally?
I had 10 wins.
And I had 10 wins as well. I will say it gets to me to 9, and it would be to 9-8 if Stafford played in that game. So if you are playing Stafford again there on the road at the end of the season, I'm going to knock it down. It will be really based on my kind of outlook there between the two.
Okay, well, they're talking about those Seahawks. If you want to listen to the rest of it, go listen to the video here. I want to talk about specifically what they talked about. And shout out, Brandon gave props to, if Stafford plays, he thinks they lose and they become a 9-win team. But I think the Seahawks being a 10-win team is generous. I think, and again, I am not so full of my own football knowledge that if I did an episode where I talked about the Seahawks, the Niners, and the Cardinals, I have no doubt that people could come and critique my knowledge of those teams. But what I do know about the Seahawks is they got a new head coach. Geno Smith is their quarterback. They have Sam Howell on their roster. Tyler Lockett's up in age. DK Metcalf is an inconsistent star receiver who can lose his cool and cost his team games with penalties. You don't know. There's so many variables on the Seahawks, and I just like if you're comparing the Rams to the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks have way more question marks to be a 10-win team than the Rams. And I like what the Rams have done. I know losing Donald hurts, but with Chris Shula coming in as DC, plus the veteran talent that the Rams have acquired in the secondary, the young players that are ready to take a step forward, like Ernest Jones, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, plus adding depth with Fiske and Verse. I feel like the Rams have a healthy balance of young players and veteran talent on both sides of the ball. The Seahawks, I still think there's a lot of question marks with this team. I really do. But that's my thoughts. Let me hear yours. This was a lot of fun. Shout out to Brendan and Brandon from the Hawks Nest. Thanks for letting me react to your guys' takes about my favorite team, the Rams. And definitely looking forward to collabing with them in the future. And that's one of the things I love about this series is hearing opinions that are unlike our own. So we don't just live in an echo chamber of the Ramley, which is a fun place to be, but sometimes it's fun to go outside and hear the birds, specifically the Seahawks or the Cardinals or the 49ers. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment below. Thanks everyone who's watched this series. It's been a lot of fun. If you do have a suggestion for a video or something like that, feel free to comment it. I always like to do my best. That's going to do it for me. And as always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams. Woo!